One of the sankalps which the Prime Minister talked about was making India a developed nation by 2047. Arti Agarwal is also joining us. You heard Kejriwal there saying that if India has to be developed by 2047, you need to focus on health and education, which in his estimate, in his opinion, the Modi government is not giving enough priority to. How would you respond?
So I think Mr. Kejriwal has a lot to answer when he himself is saying that we need to pay attention to health and education because one of the biggest epicenters of the pandemic was New Delhi, and we know how much the health infrastructure in Delhi was in shambles, and I know because I have seen Delhi. So I think it's a bit rich coming from Mr. Kejriwal. On the issue of whether India does need to grow in terms of education and health, obviously it does, and I don't see any contradiction in that and what the PM has said. In fact, I really commend the Prime Minister's statement on ending corruption. But I also believe that that end of corruption has to come from the people as well. You see, like the PM cannot do everything. I mean, there are a lot of things which the government can do, and many things which the government cannot do. People have to take it upon themselves also to end this corrupt culture and this culture of encouraging and fanning corruption just to get ahead a little bit here, a little bit there.
Okay.
So I think that the PM's sentiment is respected by the majority of the people in the country, and this is a good way to encourage people to
I think you're
nationalistic,
right, because we need to ask ourselves. I mean, corruption is a two-way street. It's the bribe giver and the bribe taker. Will we, stop giving bribes to cops when we are caught for jumping a traffic signal? Will we stop giving bribes for getting whatever document registry and so on? Will we stop giving bribes for jobs in sarkari naukri as they call it? So yes, ending corruption is a two-way street, and which is why the fifth pledge that the Prime Minister talked about was citizens' responsibility. But I want to come back to Tuhin Sinha and ask you, what the opposition is also saying is corruption is a two-way street. It only seems to happen in the opposition parties, but when opposition folks join your party, it's almost like they're going through this washing machine and they become clean after that, whether it's a Shuvendu Adhikari, a Mukul Roy, a Narayan Rane. All of them had corruption cases when they were in opposition parties, but when they join your party, they are free of that corruption taint.
This is the most cliched argument that the opposition can come up with. See, overall, the conviction in ED cases is low. Nobody can deny that. But we also cannot deny the fact that Lalu Yadav eventually was convicted 25 years after the photos first surfaced. Who are the people in the media? I think the attack was also on some of the media people who still, believe that Lalu Yadav is the icon of secularism despite actually being a convicted criminal. So I think instead of deflecting attention and pointing out the role of ED, I think the opposition needs to introspect. When in the opposition, the corruption starts from the top, as is very evident in the National Herald case, instead of demonizing institutions, they should, own up responsibility and answer why they actually were involved in money laundering activities, which is at the core of the National Herald case.
Okay.
Second,
Mahima saying, why don't you respond to that? That at the end of the day, whether it is Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, whether it is Partho Chatterjee that we have seen recently, these are all on the back of orders by courts of law. ED, you may have your grievances with the ED, but at the end of the day, courts of law have issued these orders, and ED has acted upon those orders and made the seizures and gone to court, etc. So why are you begrudging that?
And who is evading the process of law? Are we? No, we are not. We have been fully abiding by the law. We truly believe in the rule of law. In Lord Jennings' words that go like this: "May you ever be so high, but the law is above you." And the BJP needs to be reminded of that, because where it is leading the country to, where it is leading the democracy to, what was envisioned by our founding fathers, because they said as long as there are tears and suffering in this country, we should not sit back and rest, and which is what the Congress was doing. But here is BJP is selling all the assets that the Congress made for this country, that the taxpayers made for the country, that the previous governments actually established. But here is BJP, which is even selling tirangas, imposing it on the poor class, saying that you can only buy ration. If you buy this 25 rupee tiranga, which they have joined hands with China to bring in, which
Okay.
they have actually subsided Khadi Gramodyog for.
I have to wrap up.
the-
I have to wrap up. It is a happy occasion. It is a momentous one. It's one of those days, like I keep saying, we do politics 364 days. Maybe one day we can keep politics aside. As we wrap